Of the Zero project and your on-the-ground host here in Vienna. But all the hard work is going to be done by my chair, Jürgen Menze, and the panelists. I would like you to be tolerant of us. This is our first hybrid conference, and we may have just one or two kind of technical hitches to start with, but with any luck not. Anyway, I would like now just to tell you a little bit about Jürgen before handing over to him. Jürgen is a disability inclusion officer in the Gender Equality and Diversity branch of the ILO, the UN specialized agency for the world of work. He is the coordinator of the ILO Global Business and Disability Network, a worldwide platform of more than 30 multinational enterprises and over 30 national company networks working jointly for disability employment in the private sector. So, before handing over, I should say that Jürgen and I are fierce timekeepers, to the point perhaps of being rude, but you'll have to forgive us that. But if we don't try to stick to the allotted times that we've been given, and we are a wee bit late, we shall miss out on hearing from someone about their work, and none of us wants that. I think because we're running late, it's unlikely that we're going to have time for questions, but we'll just have to wait and see. And we're going to introduce each person probably about twice, just so that the technical people can pin their pictures on the screen. So I am going to say, loudly and clearly, Jürgen, over to you, please, to start the session.
Thank you very much, Tom, and very clearly received, great audio, and very excited to be part of the of the Zero Project conference, this time online. Just to introduce myself, in addition to what Tom said, I'm a middle-aged white man with brown hair and a beard and a light blue shirt. You see, I'm a bit excited being part of the Zero Project conference today. I hope the same is true for you. I'm also very excited because today, in the Future of Work, Building an Environment for Inclusive Employment session, we have 5 amazing speakers representing 4 continents. So it's obviously a global conference, a global session today. And I was just thinking when the ILO launched its Future of Work report at the end of 2019, just before the pandemic started, we were thinking, okay, predictions are very difficult, especially when they pertain to the future. Nobody could have thought what would happen a few weeks later. But back in the report that we launched, we knew, of course, that there are certain megatrends already very clearly to be seen. Some of them, like the accessibility of environments, work environments, companies, is of course only been accelerated through the pandemic. But that said, it's clear that the future of work is made by us. It's not made by technology per se. It's us as human beings, as leaders, as company leaders, to decide what needs to happen to create an inclusive future of work that also benefits and takes advantage in a positive way of the talents of persons with disabilities. But without further ado, I would like to hand over to the first speaker in the panel, who is Maunte Bu. Maunte is HR Director in Zhuhai, has been working closely with business leaders and the team to develop the diversity culture, and recently his role extended to the Asia region disability ERG, so the Employee Resource Group. Maunte received his international MBA degree from Sun Yat-sen University. So Maunte from Flex China, over to you.
Hi, thanks. Hello, everyone. This is Maunte. Thanks, Zero Project, for giving Flex and also giving me this opportunity. You know, Flex is one of the biggest manufacturing company worldwide to deliver technology innovation, supply chain, and manufacturing solutions. Next slide, please.
Can we have the next slide, please?
Yeah. Flex has solid revenue, 1,000 customers who rank in the Global 500, competent and global workforce, especially design and engineering experts who working for over 20 design centers. Strong supply chain globally for facilities over 130 worldwide. Next slide, please. Flex Zhuhai actually started PWD employment from year 2015, from 13 PWDs at the very beginning to max over 500 for peak season in the following a few years. From hiring people with hearing and speaking disabilities to people with physical visual disability. We upgraded our facilities for more accessible environment and standardized the processes for overall PWD management, which is consisting of hiring, training, safety, and cultural development. 2 years ago, we started to hire intellectual disabilities and established Flex Inclusive Factory. This is specifically for people with disabilities, with intellectual disabilities. 1 year ago, we introduced PWERG. It means Employee Resources Group in Zhuhai. Purpose of this is to inspire a workplace culture at Flex, where employees with disabilities can reach their full potential. Next slide, please. This is our year 2021 PWD headcount status. We can see the increasing trend. Next slide, please. By disability type, the top 3 categories of Zhuhai PW headcount go to multiple disabilities, hearing and speaking disabilities, and physical disabilities. Then following intellectual disabilities, psychological and visual disabilities. Based on our more than 6 years experiences on PWD management, we see that PWD employees retention is better than our normal employees. The pie chart on the right side shows numbers of existing PWD headcount under different seniorities. Next slide, please. To attract our PWD candidates from the labor market and also retain our existing PWD employees, Flex Zhuhai always pays high attention to develop barrier-free facilities and raise inclusive culture for our PWDs via accommodation at Flex. We organize PWD-involved activities and communications for understanding PWD's voice. To gain strong leadership team's sense and ownership on this, we set annual inclusive award for outstanding leaders and teams for recognition of their contribution toward our diverse and inclusive culture. We run lots of training activities, some purely for PWD skill development and career advancement, some for our non-PWD colleagues and various. Upgrade for accessible facilities is another key area for our barrier-free culture. For example, ramps, emergency signs, elevator with voice reminder. Lots of things happening per intense collaboration from PWD experts, facility, and our ESS team. Next slide, please. We listed a few what we call best practices here for your advice. The first one is our inclusive internship program for PWD students. This is with joint effort from local universities, third organizations, and Flex. Flex provides platform of real working experience and also coach guidance to special school students. It's really good for students' understanding of the real work environment and helpful for their future decision on their own career development. It also provides future PWD talent pipeline to Flex. The second one is our inclusive job fair. We normally engage third-party, local CDPF, we call the China Disabled Persons Federation, and special school universities for PWD hiring. The third one is network with NGO and third party for forum, conference for mutual sharing and learning, and advocating inclusive culture. The fourth one is our inclusive factory, specifically for people with intellectual disabilities. In addition to research and learning from experts on this new area of intellectual disability people, we closely work with their parents for every process, from hiring, internship period, employment, to right now our former employee. It does require daily communication with parents for understanding of individual status, both at home and working in flex. Next slide, please. Currently, our PWD development strategy focuses on 3 areas. The first one is upgrading our barrier-free facilities. The second one is developing inclusive culture and enhancing community engagement. We built the annual goal into our leadership team for monitoring. So for example, 1.5% PW headcount ratio for this fiscal year. This already become part of our leadership team's performance evaluation. So I think that's all of my sharing. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much indeed, Mountain and Mounter. And I would like to ask Jürgen to tell us who's up next, please, and introduce that person.
Thank you very much, Tom. And thank you very much, Mounter. So next we have Marina Kalnitski, and Marina initiated external inclusive employment projects with big players such as Flex Zhuhai, which we just heard from, and L'Oréal Suzhou, supporting those companies with the establishment of inclusive work lines. Marina is a public speaker on disability and inclusion topics, focusing on raising awareness on the rights of persons with different abilities. So that's the perfect time now to raise awareness, Marina. And I forgot to mention, you work for the Inclusion Factory in China. So for now, we stay in the same country. Over to you, Marina.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to participate today. Before I would introduce briefly our company, I would like to talk about some numbers. Next slide, please. Yeah, so we are talking about roughly 85 million people with disabilities in China. The number is outdated, it's somewhere from 2010, and also from percentage ratio, it doesn't really add up, but this is the official numbers. Then please, next. We have estimated number of 20 million people with intellectual and mental disabilities, and out of those, the estimation is that 2% are employed. I can argue, probably maybe fake employment, we don't know, but the numbers just don't sum up. Please, next slide, please. So who we are, the Inclusion Factory is a supplier for the automotive and electric components industries. We started as a sheltered factory, hiring people with intellectual and mental disabilities. Later on, we started listening to the market. The market called and said, companies want to practice CSR, companies want to hire people with disabilities, companies want training, awareness workshops. Next, please. And we established our inclusion advisory service and our academy service. So the academy is actually an education platform, awareness workshops, train the trainer programs, and the advisory service that helps companies hire people with disabilities. Next slide, please. Yeah. Talking about future work, we are thinking about different realities or different challenges. And the first one is the shift from a shelter environment to an open market employment. Next, please. We have a service-oriented environment, automation, digitalization, more work from home, less human-to-human interaction, more human-to-machine interaction, remote working, reduction of labor-intensive tasks. Today, due to my short 5 minutes, I will focus on 4 out of these realities. Next slide, please. And the first one is, it looks a little bit weird. Anyway, the first one is the shift from a sheltered environment to an open market. This is the project we did with Flex as an example. So we helped Flex to design the environment, to choose the products, to hire, to assess to interview the people, to train the people with disabilities and without disabilities. And now currently they have 17 people in the fifth, which is Flex Inclusive Factory. Yeah, next slide, please. Second reality is the service orientation that the market is going through. And we internally established an administration training center. So our employees, we provide companies with services like document collecting, scanning, data entry, security documentation at disposal. And by this, it is a promotion for our employees. So to have more skills, like a wider range of skills. And at the same time, we as a company can also survive in this era of automatization, where our current skills are less and less needed. Next slide, please. Another one, at the same time, we're entering the food and beverage industry. So Playmobil is entering China, and they establishing an experience center in Shanghai. So inside this center will be an inclusion cafe. We again act as an agent, so we help them with the establishment, with the design, recruitment of people, training the baristas, training the people with disabilities, without disabilities, and again, like broadening our we are going from production to different kind of industries. Next slide, please. And then, of course, automation. So for us, all the companies around us are almost fully automated. So how we deal with this, we have also full automation machines to keep up with the demand. We have semi-automation and a combination of both to be able to keep up, but again, allow our people to participate in the work like they did before. Next slide, please. And the less human to human, we partner with Accenture, which help us to develop technology to help our employees to work more efficiently without the need of assisting person. So the technology will tell them whether they did the task right or wrong inside the process, not after they finished. So next slide, please. And just to sum up, from our perspective, we should be flexible and listen to where the wind goes. And by this, to design the environment for people with disabilities to be able to participate in the future of the society, in the future for work as all of us. So that is from my side. Thank you very much.
Marina, thank you very much, and thank you for overcoming all the technical difficulties as well. And I would like to pass us all back to Jürgen to introduce the next presenter. Please, Jürgen.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank you very much, Marina. So now we move countries, and we even move continents, coming from China to Kenya, where we hear from Safaricom, represented today by Peter Njioka. And Peter is the head of talent management and HR shared services. His mandate includes provision of strategic direction and thought leadership for talent acquisition, capability development, talent management, HR shared services operations, employee relations, and diversity and inclusion at Safaricom. So Peter, very excited to hear from you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. By way of introduction, Safaricom is leading the communication and financial services provider in the region. We have 31.8 million customers. We have 24.4 million of them are using our data services. We have over 6,000 employees, and 2.5% of those are persons with disability. So COVID came, and it presented both opportunities and challenges for us. Challenges from a business perspective is, less money in the economy. People could not, afford some of our services. From people perspective, we had now to work from home. It comes with its own challenges, lack of tools, lack of, the environment is different, family issues and such. The opportunities for the business came, from more data usage for our staff, no loss of time on traffic like it used to be. And therefore, I can talk about various challenges and and opportunities that this brought. But to move to talk about the topic of today is actually to say that we were able to support 77% of our staff working from home. We provided all the relevant tools, all the relevant support for them. And then we also had to think the way we accelerate our transformation. We want to become a technology company by the year 2025. One of the things that we are using is agile ways of working. So we wanted to be more flexible. We wanted to have a more engaged workforce, and we wanted people to continue performing the way they were performing even before COVID. So what did we think about from a future perspective? So we decided to create a Safaricom that supports our transformation to move to a technology company. Some of the things that we did is automation. We created work environment at home, integrating work and home, and ensuring that our employees are able to operate, flexibly, whether you use from office or from their homes. And then, of course, we don't just support ourselves; we also support communities and customers. Our purpose is to transform lives in Kenya and beyond, and therefore that is something we also really are, which is dear to us. Next slide. So, from a roadmap perspective, what are some of the specific things that we did during COVID? With about 80% of us working from home, we facilitated, reasonable accommodation at home to mirror the work environment. So we provided things like chairs, we provided network, we provided power backup. We facilitated also COVID, testing and vaccination. We have weekly wellness webinars and programs. For persons with disability, we tailor-made or curated content for them to remain fit, and we actually support them at home. For the society, we were able to come up with CSR programs that supported the country to manage COVID issues, and we even went ahead to zero-rate our mobile money transactions. 0 Kenya shillings, 1,000. We were not charging any cost for our customers. Now, the future is a hybrid working model. So we designed our workspaces. We have now we are working with a 60-40, 60 at work and 40% are working from home, providing psychosocial support for all staff during this time, and also continue to provide the tools, the digital tools that they require. Next slide, please. So we realized that for the future, we need to look at a workplace not as a place you go to, but just the space that you need to be able to work. And for us to achieve that, we had to make 3 shifts. One of them is the mindset, tool set, and the skill set. So from an organizational point of view, we are moving into agile transformation to accommodate hybrid working. We want a more flexible, mindset, people who can think differently, and that has also made us, change our policies to ensure that we have a flexi working model, and to ensure that our people, all our staff, adopt to these ways of working. And then the other thing that we did from a toolset perspective is the radical digitization, automation, and simplification of all our processes, most of our processes, so that we can enhance the employee experience, whether they are working from home or they are working from the office. We have provided, as I said, we have provided enough digital tools to support our staff or hybrid working, and we continue to support both the PWDs with the psychosocial support and also the rest of the employees. From the skill set, we realized we needed different skills in this transition. We need different skills for the future, and we have a platform which our employees use to upskill themselves and to reskill themselves, and ensure that we build a future fit workforce. And as Safaricom, parting shot is that we'll continue as a business to apply the triple bottom line approach: people, planet, and profits as we transform lives. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much indeed, Peter. And I will hand us back over to Jürgen, please, who will introduce us and tell us who the next presenter is.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom, and thank you also very much, Peter from Safaricom in Kenya. I believe it's now Lars Lindberg from the Nordic Welfare Center, and I believe he's next to you, Tom. Is that right?
Indeed he is, and I have him sitting on my left, ready and waiting to fire away. Lars, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Lars Lindberg, and I work at the Nordic Welfare Center, which is an institution within the Nordic to work within the Nordic Ministry of Social Affairs and Health sector. And our mission is to contribute to development of initiatives in the field of welfare in the Nordic region. And we do this by compiling and disseminating knowledge. I will present this progress that was carried out between 2019 and 2021, and also come from the Nordic Labour Market Committee, which is a body consisting of representatives from the labour market communities in the Nordic countries. The assignment included several parts, and the most important can be summarized with identify and disseminate knowledge of new digital and technical solutions that increase opportunity for people with disability in working life and the need for research and innovation. We had different target groups, employers, employees, and experts on workplace adaptation at labour market authorities in the Nordic countries, and we also collaborated with them during the project. The area of new technology is large and complex issue, and assistive technology in working life are not themselves something new, and also know that the new technology can both be a door opener to new opportunities as well as to create new barriers. To get an idea of what kind of research that exists, 3 researchers conducted a systematic review, and especially on research articles between 2010 and 2020. In total, they identified about 1,000 articles and found it was quite limited research and evaluation. And most studies that do exist, they found was either pilot studies or involved a limited number of subjects. We conducted different workshops and discussions and had a reference group. We had 3 main publications that you can find on the website: a knowledge review on a compilation of different research and research needs, also a toolbox on the inclusive workplace, and there also contain different strategies and in-depth information on this field. We also published a collection of examples of new digital and technological solutions. We also conducted 2 webinars in English, and we would also have a summary in English, otherwise the publications are in Scandinavian languages. We identified different technologies that could be beneficial to increase inclusion of, from artificial intelligence to wearable technologies. Many of these technologies are also combined. We had some conclusions. I don't have the time to go through it, but what I really think is important that the development is very fast, and it's difficult to get the contact both for employers, employees, and experts who are working on it. And that is something we have to work on. And this conference is a wonderful example how to spread out and disseminate innovative solutions. But we also need to work more on research, evaluations, to what is working in reality. We also found that assistive technology systems are a little bit old-fashioned and don't always take advantage of all the new kind of opportunities there are with the development. And this is something we also need to work on how to modernize the assistive technology systems. So we do need research. We also need maybe a different focus on the research that is conducted, because there are more focus on people who are injured in working life rather than people who are born with disabilities and entering the working life. So that is a little bit in short. Thank you.
Lars, thank you very much indeed. Much appreciated. And I'd now like to hand over once again to Jürgen, please, to introduce our very last speaker. Thank you. Jürgen, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom and Lars. Lars, very interesting to hear about the activities of the Nordic Welfare Center. Now, after Asia, Africa, and Europe, we cross the Atlantic Ocean and come to Frances West. Frances is an internationally recognized thought leader, keynote speaker, advisor, and technology executive, known globally for her work in digital inclusion, emerging markets, and organizational transformation. A trailblazing woman and tech pioneer, Frances' human-first thinking is rooted in her experience as a first-generation Asian immigrant, rose to the executive rank, including IBM's first accessibility. She's the author of Authentic Inclusion, that drives disruptive innovation, and founder of WestCo, a global strategy wide. Very excited to hear from you, friend.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, thank you very much, Jürgen, for the introduction. And first, I want to hats off to China. I was in China in 2009, working with China Disabled People Federation, introducing the whole topic of accessibility. And in Beihai, and we actually brought together all the provinces to train them on the topic of the technical technology innovation in the area of called digital accessibility. Very heartwarming to see that China as a country has made, and for them all around. And thank you for setting up my talk. That technology is really important in terms of getting. From my perspective, we've been on this journey of ensuring that include the workplace for quite a while. And project, and also Carol has been out of we must have people with disabilities. And from my perspective, becoming more a must-do than it's talked about technology, everything that we do for every organization, for profit, or now why is that? We talk about industrial going into the fourth stage of where we have passed automation into the world with human interact, and you have technology such as artificial that's in the foreground of everything we do. Now, if we believe that things, artificial intelligence as a technology, for example, is here to stay, then the executives or the leadership at the highest level of any organization has to engage people with disabilities in their foundational thinking and also strategy making. And this is actually the kind of work that my company and my collaborators work on, which is really helping the senior executive leadership team to understand the necessity and also the criticality of why people with disability needs to be part of that, not just as an employee, but sitting at the same table, actually in the boardroom, in the C-suite room, because we cannot afford to have technology progress with the fundamental influence of a human-first thinking and acting. So some of the work that we have been doing with our client is to really help the executive to reframe and rethink what inclusion is about. And all of us in the room are aware of the wave of inclusion, actually, or DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion and belonging in some cases is coming in as a wave, especially since 2019 with events such as the Me Too movement or the George Floyd situation here in the United States. So with that as a backdrop, a lot of times we realize that people with disabilities are not part of that inclusion thinking. And it is time really collectively, because again, the good work done by many of the participants here in raising the awareness of the executives. But the next step is like, how do we turn the awareness into action? How do we create program that can sustain and can scale at an organization level? And that requires, programmatic approach in order to what I call operationalize inclusion, right? So the programmatic approach says that we have to be able to start from the very top to make sure that executive not just embrace the concept of, for example, hiring people with disability for future work, but they really have a vision for it and can articulate that. But before they just having an embrace or an envision is not enough. They really need to enact it. When I say enact it, that means they need to put policy, governance, practice in place, and then they need to enlist it. Enlist what? Enlist resources, enlist talent. In other words, put a budget in place so that you can put your money where your mouth is. And then last but not the least, they need to enable it. Enable through training, through education. Things like accessibility is not a one-off. In many cases, what we see is that we have maybe 2 or 3 or even a center of competency of driving accessibility in the organization. But very seldom, which is something that we need to do collectively, is to making sure the accessibility team or the center of competency leadership is really at the table of a strategy setting. So collectively, I think we have done a tremendous job of moving the kind of a dial to raising the awareness. But I think collectively, we also have a huge opportunity in front of us to educate our senior executives that when they talk about digital transformation, one cannot talk about digital transformation without thinking about digital accessibility. And frankly, today, a lot of times, if you walk up to a CIO or CTO, they're not connecting the dots yet. And I know that because I work with, for example, the technology analyst firm, whether it's Forrester or Gartner. These are the organizations a lot of times our CEOs or CTO go to. In their work, we're beginning to see some work by a company like Forrester, but there's a lot more work needs to be done. And collectively, I think, again, we are at the point where we can all together push forward to making sure that the hiring of people with disability, their talent and their lived experience is fundamental to the crucial making of the transformation thinking and also strategy of a company. So with that, I would want to turn it back to Jürgen and to make sure that we have actually some time for questions.
Great. Thank you very much indeed, Francis. And I am going to turn over to Jürgen in a minute. Jürgen, I think we might have a time for just one question, because I think we've got about 6 minutes left. So can I tell you what the question is that I've received here?
Please go ahead, Tom. Yeah.
Okay, so the question I've received here is, it came through on my telephone, is what are the ways, and I don't know to whom this should go, what are the ways you share your good disability inclusion practices with other companies, if indeed you do? And I'm going to turn my machine off now and leave it to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom. I think we might ask this question to to anybody who feels that they can contribute. I mean, just a reminder for those who might not be aware that, for example, in China, we have the China chapter of the ILO Global Business and Disability Network. In Kenya, we have the Kenya Business and Disability Network. So in China, Flex is a member. In Safaricom, Kenya is a member, not only a member, actually Safaricom is sharing the Kenya Business and Disability Network. So I think if maybe these two companies want to go first, and then the others could add on the way they share with other companies, because what we see also as ILO, that we as ILO or NGOs can try to convince companies to do better on accessibility and disability inclusion, but the most effective way to convince other business leaders is to hear from other business leaders that it's a good thing to do. Not only a good thing, then the right thing to do. Mountain, may I put you on the spot first, and then Peter?
Okay, I think there is one good sample for the best practices to other companies. I think it's from Taishan Marina for the people with intellectual disabilities. I think it's really very good sample for Taishan to work together with Flex, see how we can run this inclusive factory in Zhuhai. I think the most important one is the sense of our leadership, especially the key leader who can make the decision, who can approve the cost to build this inclusive factory. So yeah, that's the comments from my side.
Thank you, Mounter. Francis, maybe we'll hear from Peter first, then over to you, Francis, on the ways your company shares with other companies and well, promotes good disability inclusion practices in the business community. Peter?
Yeah, following the Global Disability Summit, we went ahead to lead in Kenya to bring in more members who could support the agenda of disability. And we have about 40 members who come from, corporate world, some from government, some from academia. And the thing is, we have a quarterly meeting where we look at what have we achieved as individuals and as a membership group on this agenda of persons with disability. Our objective or our aim is to ensure that every employer, every company embraces persons with disability and provide support, from attraction, development, and retention. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Peter.
Jürgen, if I may
Tom.
interrupt, I'm afraid we've actually only got 3 minutes left. The timing machine wasn't working here. So may I ask you please just to wrap it up and to say thanks to everybody, and I'll say thanks to everybody here once you've done so. Thanks so much. Sorry about that.
So a lot of thanks. Sorry, Francis, this time we'll get a chance, but next time. Yeah, obviously, yes, as Tom said, thanks so much for all the speakers, for the online audience, for those in the room in Vienna. It's clear that since we had 5 speakers from 4 different world regions in this meeting, it's clear disability inclusion, accessibility in the business community is not particular to any country or region. It's an emerging, well, sometimes still emerging, but it's definitely a trend of the future of work. And we need to keep being committed, pushing the agenda. It will not happen automatically, but those in the call and those who are listening, I think we can count on you. We know that you will push the disability inclusion and accessibility agenda. So with this, I will hand over to Tom for the final remarks, but thanks again to everybody here in this session. Thank you.
Jürgen, thank you very much, and I would like to extend a really huge thank you to all the panel, both virtual and on my left, Lars, and say I think we received some really very interesting information and inspirational presentations, and I would like to wrap it up again by saying thank you, panelists, thank you, Chairman Jürgen, and thanks everybody in this room for attending, and all of you thousands of people out there in the, I don't know whether it's called the cloud, but anyway, the ether. Many thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and great to see Marina's baby.
Thank you, Tom. So beautifully moderated on time. And thank you to all the speakers. Thank you very much. Okay, so we were running behind a little bit at the very beginning because we started late, and I think everybody was really excited to be here. So we moved a particular announcement, which is for those of you online, it's a challenge. Because we talk an awful lot about how exhausted we are sitting in front of our Zoom or sitting in front of our screens. So our next moderator will be setting you a challenge from Wheelmap. And I'm going to invite you